Welcome to Miss Scarlett. Subscribe and don't miss out on Patreon. Have fun! Elena made her way down the familiar sidewalk. Her long chestnut hair swayed gently in the cool breeze, framing her delicate features. At 28 years old, she carried herself with a quiet confidence that had been hard-won over years of struggle and self-discovery. Elena's fingers brushed against the small tube in her coat pocket, her favorite shade of rose gold lip gloss. The smooth plastic was a comforting presence, grounding her as memories from long ago began to surface. She had purposely chosen to walk this route today, past her old elementary school, knowing it would stir up echoes from the past. As the red brick building came into view, Elena's steps slowed. Her mind drifted back to a crisp fall day, much like this one, 20 years earlier. She had been just 8 years old then, still living as Reese, a sensitive little boy who never quite fit in with his peers. That fateful morning, young Reese had snuck into his mother's bathroom and carefully applied a coat of shimmering lip gloss. He had been fascinated by his mom's makeup for months, sneaking glances whenever she got ready for work or a night out. The way the gloss made her lips look so soft and pretty. Reese wanted nothing more than to feel that way too. With trembling hands, he had swiped the wand across his small lips, marveling at how the light caught the sparkles. For one blissful moment, Reese felt beautiful. But that feeling was short-lived. The school bus ride had been torture, with Reese desperately trying to hide his shimmering lips from the other kids. But it was impossible to conceal forever. By recess, word had spread, and a group of boys cornered Reese on the playground. "What's on your mouth, weirdo?" jeered the ringleader, a boy named Tyler. "Are you wearing makeup like a girl?" Reese's cheeks burned with shame as he stammered out a denial, but the evidence was clear for all to see. The other boys' taunts grew louder, their laughter cruel and mocking. "Reese is a girl! Reese is a girl!" they chanted, circling around him like sharks that had scented blood in the water. Overwhelmed, Reese had fled to the bathroom, furiously scrubbing at his lips until they were raw and chapped. He spent the rest of the day hunched over his desk, refusing to look up or speak to anyone. That night, curled up in bed, Reese had cried himself to sleep, not just from the humiliation, but from a deep, aching sadness he couldn't fully understand yet. Why did being called a girl hurt so much, when part of him longed for it to be true? Elena shook her head, dispersing the memories like smoke. She realized she had come to a stop in front of the school, lost in thought. A group of children ran past, shrieking with laughter as they chased each other. The sound made her smile wistfully. If only she could go back and comfort that heartbroken little boy. Tell him that one day he would grow into the woman he was always meant to be, that the pain and confusion wouldn't last forever. With a deep breath, Elena squared her shoulders and strode purposefully towards the playground. She found a bench facing the jungle gym and sat down, smoothing her knee-length floral dress. The soft fabric against her skin was a constant reminder of how far she had come. Elena reached into her pocket and pulled out the lip gloss. She studied the tube for a moment, remembering how huge and intimidating it had seemed in her small hands as a child. Now it fit perfectly in her long, manicured fingers. Without hesitation, Elena uncapped the gloss and began carefully applying it to her full lips. She took her time, making sure the color was even and flawless. When she was done, she pressed her lips together, savoring the familiar, slick feeling. A light breeze caressed her face, and Elena closed her eyes, letting the autumn sun warm her skin. In that moment, she felt truly at peace with herself. The shame and self-loathing that had plagued her for so long were finally fading away, replaced by hard-won self-acceptance. Elena's journey to this point had been long and arduous. Coming out as transgender in her early 20s had cost her some friendships and strained her relationship with her parents, but it had also brought her a sense of freedom and authenticity she had never known before. The physical transition had been challenging too. Hormones, surgeries, finding her personal style. But with each step, Elena felt more and more like her true self emerging from a lifelong fog. Now, sitting on this playground where she had once felt so lost and alone, Elena radiated quiet strength. Her lips glistened in the sunlight, a beautiful sight she no longer felt compelled to hide. A little girl, no more than 6 or 7, came skipping up to the bench. She plopped down next to Elena, swinging her legs back and forth. "I like your lip gloss," the girl said brightly. "It's so sparkly." Elena's heart swelled with emotion. "Thank you," she replied warmly. "It's my favorite color." The girl nodded sagely. "Pink is the best color. My brother says it's only for girls, but I told him that's stupid." Elena chuckled. "Your brother is wrong. Anyone can wear any color they like." "That's what I said!" the girl exclaimed. She studied Elena for a moment. "You're really pretty. I hope I look like you when I grow up." Tears pricked at the corners of Elena's eyes, but she blinked them away. "Thank you, sweetheart. I'm sure you'll grow up to be beautiful, inside and out." The girl beamed at her before jumping up to rejoin her friends on the playground. Elena watched her go, marveling at how such a brief interaction could be so healing. If only that little boy from 20 years ago could see her now, sitting here openly, unapologetically herself, no longer hiding or ashamed. Elena reapplied her lip gloss one more time, relishing the small act of self-care and defiance. Then she stood, smoothing her dress, and began the walk home with her head held high. As she strolled through her old neighborhood, Elena found herself noticing details she had overlooked on countless walks before. The way the late afternoon sun gilded the turning leaves, painting them in shades of gold and amber. The cheerful barking of dogs being walked by their owners. The enticing aroma of fresh-baked bread wafting from the corner bakery. It was as if seeing the world through the lens of self-acceptance had made everything more vivid and beautiful. Elena breathed deeply, filling her lungs with the crisp autumn air. She felt more alive and present in her body than ever before. Her heels clicked rhythmically on the sidewalk as she walked, a sound that still gave her a little thrill. It had taken months of practice to master walking in heels, but now Elena moved with easy grace. Her long legs were accentuated by sheer black stockings, and she enjoyed the swish of her dress against her thighs with each step. As she neared her apartment building, Elena caught sight of her reflection in a store window. She paused for a moment, taking in the image of the woman staring back at her. Chestnut hair fell in soft waves past her shoulders, framing a heart-shaped face with high cheekbones and almond-shaped brown eyes. Her skin was clear and smooth, with just a hint of blush on her cheeks. And her lips. Elena smiled, admiring the way the rose gold gloss made them look full and lush. The forest green dress she wore hugged her curves in all the right places, cinched at the waist with a delicate gold belt. A dainty gold necklace glinted at her throat, matching the small hoops in her ears. Elena struck a playful pose, one hand on her hip, and laughed at her own silliness. But the joy bubbling up inside her was very real. This was who she had always been meant to be, even if it had taken years to fully realize it. With a little wave to her reflection, Elena continued on her way home. As she climbed the stairs to her third-floor apartment, she found herself looking forward to a quiet evening in. Maybe she would draw a bath, light some candles, and pamper herself a bit. The apartment was small but cozy, filled with plants and colorful artwork. Elena had decorated it to reflect her personality, warm, inviting, with just a touch of whimsy. She slipped off her heels with a contented sigh and padded to the kitchen to put on some tea. As the kettle heated, Elena's phone buzzed with an incoming text. It was from her best friend, Mia, asking if she wanted to grab dinner tomorrow night. Elena smiled as she tapped out a reply. Mia had been by her side through every step of her transition, offering unwavering support and love. Their friendship was one of the brightest spots in Elena's life. Mia never treated her differently or made her feel like an outsider. With Mia, Elena could just be herself. No explanations or justifications needed. The kettle whistled, jolting Elena from her reverie. She fixed herself a steaming mug of chamomile tea and curled up on the window seat, gazing out at the city as twilight fell. The first stars were just becoming visible in the deepening blue sky. As she sipped her tea, Elena found her thoughts drifting once again to that painful day on the playground so long ago. But this time, the memory didn't sting quite as sharply. Instead, she felt a swell of compassion for that confused, hurting child she used to be. If she could, Elena would wrap her arms around young Reese and tell him that everything would be okay. That one day, he would grow into a strong, confident woman who was no longer afraid to be herself. That he would find people who loved and accepted him unconditionally. She would tell him that the road ahead would be difficult at times, but so very worth it in the end. That there was nothing wrong with him for wanting to wear lip gloss or dresses or anything else typically associated with girls. That his feelings were valid and real. Most of all, Elena wished she could tell young Reese that he wasn't alone. That there were so many others out there who felt the same way. Trapped in bodies that didn't match who they truly were inside. That one day, he would find his community and chosen family. Elena set down her empty mug and reached for her phone. She pulled up her favorite trans support group on social media and began scrolling through the posts. So many stories of struggle and triumph, of pain and joy. She wasn't alone, and neither was anyone else questioning their gender identity. With a surge of inspiration, Elena began composing a post of her own. She shared the story of her experience on the playground, and how revisiting that place today had been a powerful moment of reclamation. As the words flowed from her fingers, Elena felt a weight lifting from her chest. She ended the post with a message of hope and encouragement for others who might be struggling. To anyone out there who feels different or wrong or alone, please know that you are perfect exactly as you are. Your journey is your own, but you don't have to walk it alone. There is a whole community waiting to embrace you with open arms. Never give up on being your authentic self. Elena hit post and set her phone aside, feeling a sense of quiet satisfaction. If her words could help even one person feel less alone, it would be worth it. She stood and stretched, deciding it was time for that relaxing bath she had been craving. As she ran the hot water and added a generous pour of lavender-scented bubble bath, Elena caught sight of herself in the bathroom mirror. Her lip gloss had faded somewhat over the course of the day, but a hint of shimmer still clung to her lips. Without hesitation, Elena reapplied the gloss one more time. not out of insecurity or a need to impress anyone else, but simply because she loved the way it made her feel, beautiful, feminine, and wholly herself. As she sank into the steaming, fragrant water, Alina let out a long sigh of contentment. The day's emotions, both painful and joyful, seemed to melt away, leaving her feeling centered and at peace. She thought about how far she had come and all the challenges she had overcome to get to this point. There had been times when the road ahead seemed impossibly long and difficult, moments of doubt, fear, and despair. But through it all, Alina had held on to that core of truth inside her. The knowledge that she was meant to be Alina, not Reese. That living authentically was worth any hardship or sacrifice. Now, wrapped in the warm embrace of the bath, Alina felt a profound sense of gratitude for the strength she had found within herself, for the people who had supported her along the way, for every small victory and moment of joy that had carried her forward. As she began to drift off into a light doze, lulled by the warm water and soothing scent of lavender, Alina's last coherent thought was one of hope. Hope for a future where no child would have to feel ashamed or afraid for expressing their true selves, where everyone could shine as brightly as they were meant to, without fear of judgment or ridicule. With that beautiful vision in mind, Alina slipped into peaceful dreams. Dreams of a world filled with love, acceptance, and endless possibilities. A world where everyone was free to be exactly who they were meant to be. When she awoke sometime later, the bathwater had cooled and her fingers were pruny, but Alina felt refreshed and rejuvenated, both physically and emotionally. She dried off and slipped into her softest pajamas, then padded to the kitchen for a light dinner. As she ate, Alina's phone buzzed with notifications. Her social media post had resonated with many people in the trans community. Comments poured in, sharing similar experiences and offering words of support and solidarity. One comment in particular caught Alina's eye. It was from a teenager who was just beginning to question their gender identity. They thanked Alina for sharing her story, saying it had given them hope for their own future. Alina's heart swelled with emotion as she read the words. She remembered all too well how isolating and scary it could feel to realize you might be transgender. If she could offer even a small glimmer of hope to someone in that position, it made all her own struggles worthwhile. She spent the next hour carefully responding to comments, offering words of encouragement and support where she could. By the time she set her phone aside, Alina felt a deep sense of connection to her community. As she got ready for bed, Alina found herself humming softly. It was a habit she had picked up during the early days of her transition, when she was working on feminizing her voice. Now it was just something she did when she was feeling content. She took her time with her nightly skincare routine, massaging creams and serums into her face with gentle, circular motions. It was another form of self-care that helped Alina feel grounded in her body and identity. Finally, she climbed into bed and picked up the novel from her nightstand. But after reading the same paragraph 3 times without absorbing any of it, Alina realized her mind was too full for reading tonight. Instead, she found herself reflecting on the day's events once more. The walk past her old school, the conversation with the little girl on the playground, the affirmation she had received online. It felt like the closing of one chapter and the beginning of another. Alina realized that for the first time in a long while, she was truly excited about the future. Not anxious or uncertain, but genuinely looking forward to what lay ahead. She had come so far already. Who knew what other amazing experiences life had in store? With that hopeful thought, Alina switched off the bedside lamp and snuggled down into her blankets. As she drifted off to sleep, a small smile played across her lips, lips that were still faintly sparkly with a hint of rose gold gloss. In her dreams that night, Alina saw herself as a little girl, running and playing without a care in the world. She was wearing a frilly dress and her favorite shade of lip gloss, laughing joyously as she twirled in the sunshine. It was a vision of the childhood she had longed for but never experienced, until now, in the safe space of her dreams. When Elena woke the next morning, she felt a sense of lightness and possibility. The weight of old pain and trauma seemed to have lifted, leaving room for new growth and self-love. As she got ready for the day ahead, Alina took extra care with her appearance. She chose a bright, cheerful outfit that made her feel confident and put together. And of course, she finished off her makeup with a swipe of her favorite rose gold lip gloss. Before heading out the door, Elena paused to look at herself in the full-length mirror. The woman who gazed back at her was strong, beautiful, and unashamed. She was Alina in all her glorious authenticity. With a brilliant smile, Elena blew herself a kiss in the mirror. Then she stepped out into the world, ready to face whatever challenges or joys the day might bring. She walked with her head held high, lips shimmering in the morning sunlight, a beacon of hope and resilience for all who saw her.
Thanks for watching, my girlies! Be sure to check out Patreon for more!